Hello, and welcome to The Secrets of Storytelling with me, Katrice Horsley. Please remember to hit the subscribe button if you want to be kept informed about future episodes that are coming up, and there are future episodes coming up, as well as training that I'm offering for organizations and also coaching that I'm offering for individuals. So please subscribe to be kept informed. Plus, obviously, it helps me. So on today's episode, we've come up to section 3 of the Secrets of Storytelling. And section 3 is all about organizational storytelling or storytelling for organizations. I've have a lot of experience working for private sector, from Nordea Bank to, well, a whole range, as well as working for perhaps health authorities or education authorities, and then educational institutes and research institutes as well. And one of the major things to do with storytelling when it comes to organizational development, organizational change, is the importance of a strategic narrative. So that is what this episode, episode 7, is going to be about. The importance of a strategic narrative. And you'll hear this phrase buzzing around. Forbes say that every single company should have a powerful strategic narrative. Harvard Business Review, even if you just Google or use some other search engine, the importance of a strategic narrative, a load of stuff will come up. And I'll put some links below for the ones that I think are the most useful. And what does it actually mean? A strategic narrative is a way, a very powerful way of communicating company goals and values, plus your values and vision as a leader. And we know about how storytelling, the use of metaphor and the use of certain language impacts on brain chemicals. If you've looked at the first section in this collection of The Secrets of Storytelling. So we know that it's actually more important and more powerful to create a story about your vision and your company than it is to give your employees a series of bullet points about where you're going. Now, one of the things that I have witnessed time and time again when it has come to working with organizations in developing a strategic narrative is this idea that the narrative starts now, in the present. And it can't start in the present, because this present, where your company is now, is based on some of the stuff that happened before. And this will have altered the landscape of your organization, your company. So I have had companies where there's been a takeover, and I've been brought in to help create this narrative, this vision for the future. And the leaders of the new company don't want to talk about the takeover, as though none of the employees are aware of it. And of course they are. I mean, some people lost jobs, so their work colleagues aren't working with them anymore. But it's like, well, don't talk about it. Don't talk about the bad stuff. You have to acknowledge the past in order to be fully here in the present, in order to gain the trust and the support of the people around you, that you are able to take them into the future. And I'll link a blog that I did about that at the bottom of the video. So it's really important that you acknowledge what has happened before when you're developing your strategic narrative. Look at what is happening now in order for everybody to move towards this anticipated future. this future that you want. Um, we talk about future visioning, we talk about change, we talk about imagine futures. All of those are just a story. It's just a story. Now, the other thing that I have found in my work with organizations is that the story isn't shared. The story kind of belongs to the leaders and the top management. They know the vision, they think. A lot of the people who are on the kind of shop floor, they don't know what this vision is, or it hasn't been articulated to them. And they might have a different idea of what the last page of the story is. So you've got like the tech department kind of writing a sci-fi novel, they think it's there, and you've got HR thinking it's a romance story, and you've got some other department thinking it's something else, and so you're never going to reach that shared vision because the shared vision isn't shared. So an incredibly important thing to do when you're developing strategic narratives and developing anything within your organization is ensuring that everybody's voice is heard and that they know that their voice is heard. So here is a diagram that I did for an educational authority, an educational authority. And it's to do with your employees being the pages of the story, and then you've got departments who are the chapters of the story. Then you've got your different these were different schools, and then you had the region, but this could be different company divisions, and then the overall company. So this could be different ones in different countries, etc. The most important thing is this last page. Everybody has to know what this shared vision, this end of the strategic narrative is. Otherwise, you're never going to achieve it. And there is a really wonderful way for doing that, which is through a range of surveys using metaphors. And I can remember, I won't go into the details now, but please contact me if you want further details, if you'd like me to do some training for you. But I can remember doing a survey for one particular company I was working with where there had been takeover. And there were some issues around leadership and trust, a loss of trust in leadership. And I was asking for metaphors about what it was like to work in this particular organization. And I was having lovely stuff coming back to do with it's like being on the train, but there's a driver at each end and they're going in different directions. It's like being on not a helter skelter. Is it helter skelter? That's a helter skelter, isn't it? A roller coaster. It's like being on a roller coaster. Really exciting, but no idea really where it's going to end or where we're going. And there were some very emotionally powerful metaphors used that I then used to develop an imagined story, which caused great emotional engagement. And then I led a process, a narrative-based process, where people started to identify the steps towards a shared future. So it is possible, and it is powerful, really powerful. So I'm going to give you my basic strategic narrative formula. And it's based around the hero's journey in a way. And again, I can put a link to the hero's journey for those of you who are not aware of it below, just so you have this idea of the cyclical nature of development and movement. This looks so simple, and yet it's very complex and very powerful. So a strategic narrative should start with who you are as a leader and what your values are. Not what you're selling, not what your product is, but what your company stands for, if it's a strategic narrative for your company, or what you stand for, if it's a strategic narrative for you as a leader within your organization. I want you to think of advertisements and how quite often you will have an advertisement that doesn't mention the thing that they're selling, but it pushes the story of who you will become if you own it. There was an advertisement for, I think it was a Citroen car, during the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. So they would have paid millions to have that spot during the Super Bowl break. And they did not mention the car. They did not mention fuel consumption. They did not mention suspension. They did not mention they mentioned nothing about the car. The whole advertisement was all about a young girl who was riding a go-kart, and there was a voiceover about, what do I tell my daughter? What do I tell my daughter? That women are worth less than men. And it was this whole story of this girl in a go-kart and her father wanting to support her. And then at the end, it kind of pans away and they're walking into this particular car. It sold the story of who you will be if you buy the car. So this is who you are and your values, not what you are selling. Your vision, what you want the world to be. And this is why you're producing the stuff that you're producing, or your company does what your company does. What you want this world to be, how this world will be better, how people will be better, this vision. And then, because it has to be a story, and every story has to have a bit of a threat. What is the threat to this vision? This is like the da, da, da. What is the threat to this vision? And you need the threat as well in order to bring people on board. And this is where it's call to arms. This is where you say to people, I need you. We need you. Together we can. Because you're not the hero of the story. You can't be the hero of the story, otherwise you don't need anybody else. And if they don't feel needed, they're not going to be part of the story with you. You have to be the one who is courageous enough to be vulnerable and say, we need you to help us achieve this vision, make this world a better place. And that's where you link it into the big picture, which has to link into the values of you and your organization. And this can work from an organization that sells computer tech to an organization that sells nails, metal nails that you hammer into wood. Because where would the world be without nails? But there is a threat. There is a threat where now we are believing that we don't need the basic things in life and that everything is pre-made and pre-done. And we as people are not developing the skills that we need to survive, because we can't always rely on the tech, but we can always rely on nails and a hammer. It's as easy as that. You can twist, I don't like the word twist, but you can twist whatever it is that you are producing into a story and into something that enables people to believe that they have a say in the story and that their words matter and that their lives will be better if they are part of this story and if they can help implement this story. I remember my husband saying that he used to do something around shoemaking. And in the old days, quite often, you would have one person who would make shoes. You would have a shoemaker who made the shoes from start to finish, each pair. And they were masters and mistresses of that art form of making shoes. And then it was all broken down, and you had factories making shoes, and some people just made the soles, and some people just made the laces, and some people just made the tongs, and nobody actually saw the end result of these amazing shoes. Somehow they were just working on their page with no idea what the end of the story was. If we have that vision, have that knowledge of how the laces that we make create these beautiful shoes that enable people to feel fabulous, or enable people to walk miles through mountains, or enable people to walk comfortably even though they are elderly with bunions. If we can share that story, give people ownership of that story, and share that last page with them, then everybody who is working within our organizations will feel valued, will feel that they matter, and will feel that their page in the story, in the book of the strategic narrative matters. And without their page being there, it wouldn't work. What amazing incentive is that, to enable people to realize how vital they are in the organization that they work in. And that is the power of a strategic narrative. So I hope that gave you some ideas. I will just recap that a little bit for you. That a strategic narrative is essential in communicating company goals and values, plus your values as a leader. A strategic narrative has to start from the before in order to be present in the now, in order to gain trust into the anticipated future. It is a vision, it is an imagined future, it is a story. And a strategic narrative has to cover who you are and your values, your big vision, the threat to that vision, how all of the people within your organization are going to help you, or how your public or how your customers are going to help you overcome this threat to make the world a better place. The next episode, episode 8, is going to be all about using story and something called clean language and metaphors to enable the people in your organizations to understand how they work at their best, what they need in order to work at their best, and share with their work colleagues and with you as a leader what they need to work at their best. So you start to understand what everybody needs, what their story is of working at their best, so that your organization can work at its best. Couldn't be simpler. So please join me next week for the secrets of storytelling, and remember to subscribe. And as I said, I'll put all the notes down below and some recommended reading as well. So take care, and I'll see you. Well, I won't see you, but I'll be with you next week. Bye-bye for now.